There was quite a few upsets in boxing last night. I think the biggest was Bruno Saras knocking out, not just knocking out with one punch, Jaime Munguia in Mexico last night. It was on a Top Rank show. This was Munguia's second fight since he's moved over to Top Rank. He obviously left Golden Boy immediately after his fight with Canelo Alvarez, or not immediately, but it wasn't long after he announced he would sign with Top Rank. In spite of the fact De La Hoya was talking about doing a Golden Boy versus Matchroom, he was still mentioning Munguia as one of his fights, but not the ins and outs. But this was his second fight with Top Rank in the space of a couple of months. Bruno Saras, a French super middleweight. Now, I had no idea who this guy was. I read that there's fighters out there you hear about, up and coming fighters, this, that, and the other. But this guy, when I looked at his box rec, because I knew the result this morning. I went and watched the fight on Sky Sports. The full fight is up on their YouTube channel. I was like, right, he's not. How would I explain him or describe him? He's not as crude as I thought he would be. Looking at his box rec, I was thinking, excuse me, this guy's going to be very crude. He's not. There's definitely ability there. This was a come from behind knockout, definitely, because he was losing this fight comprehensively. He had moments of success in here, but few and far between up until the knockout. When I looked at his box rec, he made, I think, his pro debut in 2016. There was a couple of draws early on in his career, a good couple of majority decisions early on in his career, so that kind of indicates that he was probably learning on the job, so to speak. But interestingly enough, he only had 4 knockout wins. 4. Going into this fight, and he had over 20 professional fights. So really didn't have a puncher's reputation. And I think Munguia, his biggest problem in this fight was that he saw this guy as just a nobody. Not a nobody, but as a non-puncher. So he didn't need to be on his guard. Munguia's defense, it's never been great. He's never had a particularly good defense. He's always been able to be hit. Even when you see him, down at 154, he was able to get hit with shots. Went up to 160. He had that brief run, did very little at 160. There was some great fights there. What was the thing that was happening? He was getting hit a lot. He was winning, but he's getting hit a lot. Now he's up at 168. Now bear in mind, he started his career, although he was very young. I think he won his first world title at 21, 22, so he's very young. Now he's up at 168. He's come through the weights, and he's in there with big guys, 168 to basically heavyweight. You don't find many guys who can't hit very hard. You get a lot of big punchers at these weights. You really do. And Munguia, I think, went in there with Saras and was kind of like, just the way it looked for me, like, this guy can't punch. Big mistake. Now, Munguia early on, he was doing what he always does, launching combinations, Saras's body, head and body. Very high volume puncher is Jaime Munguia. There is power there. There's not a crazy amount, certainly at 168, but there's enough. In fact, actually, in round number 2, he dropped Saras very heavily with a left hook. Apparently, that was the first time he'd ever been down, and he hit the deck. He really did. It was coming towards the back end of the second round. Saras hit the deck, got back up. He did look hurt. Munguia tried to close the show. He couldn't. And Saras, again, he had moments after that where you looked and thought, okay, that's good. There was a couple of times where he led with an uppercut. There was a couple of right hands that went in. But for the most part, he was really the guy chasing. What he was doing very well, though, and Munguia, this is a big critique of him in this fight, Saras would look to get to the ropes every chance he could get. And he just took up. He just shell up. He just took up. He did a good job defending against his body. He kept the elbows down low. So he had a game plan. He knew what Munguia was going to do. He tried to just tuck up, take the sting out of a lot of the shots, let Munguia tee off on him, and then look to counter. Now, he did get through with some counters early on in this fight. I think it was towards the back end of round number 4. He appeared to buzz Jaime Munguia ever so slightly with a right uppercut. But again, it was only just a little. I think it was partially blocked. It did get through. But again, there wasn't anything, crazy getting through. And actually, he's lucky in some ways that in round number 3, he didn't get another knockdown scored against him. He did appear to slip on some of the condensation that was on the canvas near the corner. But Jaime Munguia did land a shot to the body. Now, it was a nothing. I think it was more a jab. It's a little jab on the belt line at the belly button. Referee could, in theory, because it was a shot and he did slip at the same time, in theory, he probably could have called a knockdown, but no one was really complaining. It counted for nothing in the end anyway. It wouldn't have mattered at all to this fight, but it's just chuck that in there. Munguia, as the rounds progressed, now you got to remember, when he dropped Sas in round number 2, it was him punching with him. So he was constantly punching early on with Bruno Sas, and he was having success. Obviously, he dropped them. As the rounds progressed, it just became Munguia opens up a combination, takes a minute, Sas launches an attack, so on and so forth. And Munguia's attacks were better. They were just better. But he wasn't punching with him. It was just literally rinse and repeat. And what ended up happening was Munguia was just timed. It was just as simple as that. He knew what attacks Munguia was doing. He knew when he launched them. He knew how to protect himself from him. And he knew when he'd be able to attack. Going into the round number 6, round's going like clockwork for Munguia. He's winning the round. And I think it was 30 seconds thereabouts left in the round. Munguia backs up. Gloves just like non-existent, not near his head, and he walks onto a big right hand, because they left that big right hand, and you couldn't really see, like, obviously it landed, obviously, but you couldn't really see how much damage it did until they did the slow-mo replay. You could never see it like face on, but you could see Munguia's face just from the slow-mo replay just go from there to there. So it was a big, hard impact shot. Munguia hit the deck, and honestly, like, there's people complaining, oh, he didn't give Munguia a chance, he counted. Nah, man, Munguia was done. I think there was like 15 seconds left in round number 6. Under no circumstance could the referee have let that carry on. None. It doesn't matter who it was, doesn't matter what title's on the line. He was way too hurt. He was all over the place when he got up. He could never have continued, not a chance in hell. If he did, he would have got seriously hurt. So the referee dispensed with the count at about 9. That's when Munguia was up. No complaints with the stoppage. Bruno Sas, I mean, what do you say? I mean, like, honestly, my ignorance is showing, because I never even heard of this guy. Wasn't even on the radar at 168. And he's announced himself onto the world stage with that. I can't... Look, he's not a terrible fighter. There's a little bit of ability there. There's definitely maybe some punching power that he's not properly tapped into yet, but just based upon that performance, I can't envision him troubling some of the top guys. I can't. But if you fight him, say you're a Edgar Berlanga of the world, you don't want to get too comfy in there like Munguia did, because Munguia clearly didn't respect this guy, didn't respect his punching power, didn't respect what was coming back. I mean, he's backing up with his gloves down, for God's sake. You give him a free hit and he took it and he knocked you out. Simple as. So that's my thoughts on this fight. Again, I wasn't planning on doing it. I was going to probably talk about it on Review of the Week, but it was a good scrap. I'd recommend you go watch it. It's on Sky Sports YouTube channel. And just the knockout, just boom. Like, one of the knockouts of the year, definitely. And just such a shock. Madness, really madness. So that's my thoughts on that. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. A lot to talk about today. Obviously, Dillian Whyte is in action later on this evening in Gibraltar. I know Gibraltar, the mecca of boxing, isn't it? But I will definitely be keeping my eyes peeled on that fight, just purely to see kind of how Dillian Whyte looks against Ebenezer Tete. Ebenezer coming close to Christmas. There you go. Looking forward to seeing how he looks, because he looked terrible last time, so he can't get much worse than that. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. Until later, peace.